Hey, good morning. Welcome to another Andy's Chomping at the Bit. Today I'm going to do one on dignity. Um, that's an interesting topic that I haven't addressed, and I can do it short this one, so no 30 minutes. That's always a plus. By the way, Andy's Chomping at the Bit is brought to you by Big Andy Media, the official sponsor of every Friday episode. With that being said, dignity. Okay, so I'm going to primarily about this. Not just around addiction, um, but the growth for it is going to be during my recovery primarily that I'm going to focus on. Um, so for when I was leaving or when I was getting help um, for the second time in treatment, I one of the reasons I struggled is because I had this uh, I was this delusional thought of somehow ego and dignity being tied together, hand in hand, um, and so I thought that by tucking my tail and asking for help, that I was throwing away my dignity, because one, I didn't truly understand dignity. I didn't understand the effect of getting help because I thought dignity essentially is quality or state of being worthy, honored, or esteemed. That's the Merriam-Webster official definition. Um, and I thought that by getting help again, um, that my worth wasn't there. That I thought I wasn't worthy of being part of society if I couldn't make it through after all that time, if I couldn't get back on my feet, if you know, I felt like I was on a treadmill, and no matter how fast I ran, I wasn't going anywhere. Um, and so I guess my self esteem was also struggling, obviously at that point. Um, but like I said, the reality is that I had to swallow my ego. I had to look past my fears, of of uncomfortable change and address things that I normally wouldn't address in the past, um, openly and willingly, and that was a challenge, um, because I was afraid that I was afraid that I would lose my dignity, and in fact, that's what I had to do to gain my dignity and grow, as far as my how I saw myself. My self esteem had to improve somehow, and and so by swallowing my ego, and pride, and getting the help and continuing to get the help, and building a support network around me, um, that has helped me, get a good foundation as far as, in a sense, regaining dignity as far as society might be concerned. Um, but for myself, I'd say really establishing, um, seeing some dignity within myself for the first time ever, because my self esteem wasn't really there for most of my life. So I'm going to really focus on worthy and esteemed as far as within dignity, because those are the ones that I notice the most. Um, so my self esteem wasn't the greatest. I was great on stage. I could put on a hell of a good face as far as on stage, and even off stage. I'd put on a good mask, but it wasn't sincere. It was literally, gotta be careful how I word this on this, so I don't have to put a explicit content. So how do I reword it? I was completely putting on a show, to say it the least. A lot of hot air, I guess you could say, about confidence, about emotions. I did a good job. It was a bad thing, but a good job at doing it, um, disguising it. Part of it was denial. I mean, that I didn't want to admit that I was struggling. Um, it was scary to say it for the first time back when I finally came out that I struggled with depression, and everything, and I didn't see much value in myself. My self worth was nothing at the moment, and it showed in other areas. I mean, it didn't show as much on the stage because that was one place where I did feel comfortable. I mean, there was one place I felt like I could be myself no matter what. That's the beauty of the stage for me. But in other areas, you could see that I was struggling. For instance, employment. Whew, man, there's a few areas where that hurt me as far as self-esteem, self-worth. I didn't feel I was worth a raise on several jobs I had. I literally worked first 6 months of my broadcast career for free, I guess it's common in the industry. But the next year and a half, I worked for $8 an hour on contract for 20 hours a week, even though I was putting in anywhere between 50 to 60 hours worth of editing and on spot, mainly on editing. So I was spending so much more time than I was getting out of it. But I was afraid I was going to lose the job if I asked for a raise or anything like that, because I didn't think I was going to get any opportunity if I screwed up. Even though I knew I was qualified as far as credentials, I felt that I was lucky to be there, which in a sense I was, but I didn't see my value, enough of my value, or at least not enough to stand up for myself. So that's how it affected me in the employment. And then even when I branched off and I did my music career for a while there as a singer-songwriter, I did a horrible job actually as far as promoting myself. Try going into a restaurant or a bar or any venue that allows you to perform and ask, and then when they say, how good are you? You say, I'm all right. Nobody wants to hire all right. If they're going to have an entertainer there, they want good at the minimum, great preferably. Most places require great, and I don't blame them. So that self-esteem issue, that self-worth, translated into other parts of my life. Society, it rubs off on people. If you don't value yourself, typically you can end up running into people that also don't value you, or they take advantage of the fact that you don't value yourself, and it's a very nasty cycle. And it also affected relationships. I stopped, not just romance, kind of in general friendships. I didn't speak with a lot of people after I left high school. Some of them I do on occasion, and some of them on the very rare occasion. And it's unfortunate because it wasn't like I didn't have time to talk to anyone. It was a matter of I saw them going in this path, and I didn't feel like I was at a level in my didn't feel like I was worthy to still talk with them or be friends with them. I don't know why. I really don't know why, looking back now, why I felt that way, why I truly felt that way. I stopped talking to people because of that. I saw, you see social media and they have this friend over here and this friend over here, and I'm like, okay, well, they've gone on, and it's really twisted if you think about it. But I mean, that was just my thought process for the longest time there. So I didn't burn bridges, but I abandoned them. So it took a toll in that way. And then let's go to the actual more serious relationships. I would drag my feet. I'm actually a pro at this. That's not something to be proud of, but it's reality. I could drag my feet longer than anyone else as far as asking someone out or displaying interest, because I was like, if I asked them out and they said yes, it'd be nothing short of a miracle, because that was the state of mind I was in at the time. I wrote myself off before even asking. Kind of like that whole. I wish I would have known the saying, "You fail at 100% of shots you don't take." I wish I would have heard that back then. I didn't hear it until several years later, but it still didn't help because by the time I did hear it, uh, not too much. But it affected me as far as the value in that, and then even if someone did show and just I was oblivious to it because if the slightest hint I would have written off as, well, yeah, right, that's coincidence, nothing more. They don't really have any kind of interest whatsoever. It's not in me, at least. That was the thought process for the longest time, and so it really dragged me down. Not having any, not seeing any self worth or having any self esteem, lacking dignity within. That's how I tie it in. Lacking dignity within. But the nice thing I can say with the utmost sincerity is I have started and drastically started to gain not just self esteem but self worth. I I know my value, and it's not just in material. It's not just in talents. It's beyond that, and I love the fact that I can say that, and I can admit that I still struggle. I can admit that I have some significant vulnerabilities, but that doesn't hold me back. In fact, that's part of what makes me part of what gives me value today is that I am aware of my vulnerabilities and that I'm actively working on them and that I continue to reach out and use resources available to grow and build on those. And and I know that I have self-worth now. I know that I know that if my friends or family are in trouble or they need help or they need someone to talk to or they want to spend time, I know that I can comfortably be with them or be there for them and know that I am not a a safety risk for them. I know that I'm not a burden necessarily. I know that I have value in that sense, and I know that a lot of my friends and family are also seeing that. It wasn't right away, and I don't blame them right away. Uh, when I first started treatment, in fact, even when I first got out of treatment, and even when I got out of jail afterwards, because I ended up, if you didn't already know, I ended up turning myself in shortly after getting out of treatment to face the legal repercussions of making poor choices earlier on. And so when I got out of jail, people still had that look. They felt I was going through the motions, or it was a temporary thing that they'd seen this before. I was doing great, and then I would slip. It was just the top of the wave. A lot of people thought, and I've been able to show with stability and with continuous growth, continuous support that I've been able to build up as far as in the eyes of others, build up my value. I hold some esteem now from the challenges and the growth I've made from those challenges. People feel okay talking to me and coming to me. People feel okay sharing things with me, and that is great. People trust that I'm not going to screw them over like I might have in the past. They can trust that I'm safe to be around as far as with family or children or whatever, their pets, their parents, their everyone. They people can actually feel comfortable for the first time in a long time, and that's a powerful thing. That is a very powerful thing. Knowing that it's not just in my eyes. I'm actually seeing it in the world around me. I got to go to my brother and sister-in-law's reception, wedding reception. I wasn't able to go to their wedding because of that was the last repercussion or the last real setback from the mistakes of the past. I wasn't able to go because of legal matter, probation to be exact. But I was able to go to the reception, which was amazing, and that's where I think I first noticed the biggest change. I was able to spend time with family and friends of the family, and I wasn't looked at. I wasn't looked at awkwardly. I wasn't looked at like I was for the past 6 years. I was actually looked at, for the most part, like I was before I started using. But the big difference was I was wearing a mask before I was using. I was actually able to be me at that point, and that was an amazing feeling. Getting to be me, getting to enjoy being me, enjoy my family and friends at a way that I hadn't done for so long, and in some ways ever. And having deep conversations with family and friends, that's something special. And that's something that comes with dignity, I believe. When you start growing and gaining some of that dignity back, within your circles, within society, even within yourself, the support grows stronger, and that's probably the biggest blessing of it. Being able to not just enjoy it with yourself, but able to be there for others, no matter how good or bad things are. That's a pretty cool thing. So, yeah, that's going to be the today's chomping at the bit right there on dignity, and I kept it under 20 minutes. So, yeah, that's great. Okay, anyway, Andy's Chomping at the Bit is brought to you by Big Andy Media. You can follow Big Andy Media on Facebook, YouTube, X, which used to be Twitter, LinkedIn, and at bigandymedia.com. Once I get that website up, which will be really shortly. I just have a few more things. I decided to break it into sections when I do the release so I can get some of the basic stuff out right away. Also, you can follow Andy's Chomping at the Bit if you aren't already on Facebook and YouTube. So with that being said, have a great day or great weekend as well. And I will talk to you guys more on Monday with another Daily Biscuit. Take care.